Good evening, everyone. I'd like to adjourn the closed session and reconvene the open session of the February 10th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. And I'll report the action taken in closed session. The board in closed session voted unanimously to reject a claim filed by claimant against Orinda Union School District. All right, moving on to, thank you, Pledge of Allegiance. I invite our OIS students to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. We all can stand. Ready?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a special program highlight today, and with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Honorable trustees, we have OIS here this evening. They are going to be presenting on their leadership program, and I'd like to introduce Stacy Wayne, principal of Orinda Intermediate School.
The students are going to do most of the presenting, but just want to introduce, they will introduce themselves, but the web program comes from out of Boomerang Project, which is a national organization. And we've been doing webs for at least, I would say 2 decades, but I don't know exactly how long, but it predates my time there. And a number of years ago, we decided to combine the web, where everybody belongs, which is an orientation and transition program for 6th graders, with our leadership class, elective class, and make it a joint program. So that's currently what we have. So without further ado, these people are going to tell you, these amazing bulldogs are going to tell you how this has really transformed our culture and our climate and made it a place where people truly live. So come on up, right? And how are you people?
All right, so I'm Vanessa, and we are all part of the OIS Web Leadership Program here at OIS, and we're going to talk about a little bit what we're doing.
Just let me know when I'd like to move the slides forward. Yeah, okay.
Those pictures are from our web day this year. The web program provides opportunities for 6th graders to interact with their 8th grade role models in a variety of social activities throughout the year. I'm Greta, and in the fall, our web leaders hosted Web Day through a wild, wacky web welcome party after school for the 6th graders, visited the 6th grade classrooms each month, and pump up their bulldog spirit at the pep rally and interact with students during lunchtime activities. I'm Charlie, and web leaders help to make OIS a place where all students feel welcome. Like when we're planning Spirit Days, we think about like what ideas will like affect like the majority of the people, like what can everybody participate in, not just one group of people.
Could you switch to the next slide?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
I'm trying. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. There it is.
So our OIS leadership students work collaboratively with administration, staff members, and students to promote an inclusive environment for all. For me, I liked to include my friends. Like even if they're not in leadership, I asked them at lunch. I'm like, well, is there any Spirit Days? When we're like the days we vote on our Spirit Days, I like to ask them, is there like a Spirit Day you'd like to see happen? Like I know a lot of my friends wanted Buddy Day, and I advocated for that in class, and we got a Buddy Day. So that was a fun thing to include all my friends who are not, even if you're not in leadership, you get to be a part of it.
Hello, my name is Mia, and OIS leadership participates in lots of others first activities on the campus to promote service and giving back to the community. And we recently worked with Blue Star Moms and Pantry Kids. Like we have activities at lunch, and everyone in OIS can come and participate to make greeting cards and gift baskets and food packets for people who are less fortunate.
Hi, I'm Ellie. OIS leadership students help to organize our 4th annual Trunk and Treat, lots of Spirit Days, competitions, dances, the OIS Color Run, and more. So these activities are really fun for all the students at OIS because it like pumps up school spirit and you get to like make memories with your friends. And it's also really fun for leadership students to like plan them out. and they got to like see those plans come into action. So
Hi, I'm Gavin. Leadership students help students to take initiative, problem solve, be creative, show empathy towards others, and bring positive energy and excitement to OIS.
Next slide. Part of our OIS team that we have, like everyone collaborates with each other. So our students, our parents, teachers, administrators, everyone. And even the Orinda community is in, and yes. On this. So one of my highlights of our OIS leadership program, so as you know, we have spirit days and we plan those. But when I was in 6th grade and 7th grade and I wasn't part of this class, just seeing all of the web leaders and leadership students like handing out necklaces to help me and like spirit day accessories, and that helped me feel much more included in all the activities that we get to do.
One of my favorite memories of like the leadership is the pep rallies, because they're like really fun and they help raise a lot of school spirit. And like it's really fun to see like all the students like on their feet and jumping up and down.
For me, my favorite memory was as a 6th grader, like after web day, seeing my web leaders around school and like having them like say hi to me and knowing like 8th grade. It was really cool.
One of my favorite memories of the leadership in web class is like when I was a 6th grader, my web leaders made web day so much fun. And so I really wanted to do the same for my group of 6th graders. And like we still say hi in the halls, and like we made so many memories on web day, and I hope that they can do that if they get into class when they're in 8th grade.
My favorite memories of leadership in web class was the Wild Wacky Road welcome party. I know it's a mouthful, but it was really fun. Like everybody had their own different booths, and I did water balloons. It was really fun getting to interact more with the 6th graders, because I talked to them in the halls, but they have their own friends and their own grade. And so I got to see them at web day, but I also got to see them at that event, which was really fun, being able to be a leader for them and getting to help them with their friendship and trying to like boost their school morale, I guess.
Hello. My favorite memory about OIS leadership was when we went into 6th grade core classrooms. We got to run games with them, and we made cards for them. And we did a game where we had a sponge and a bucket, and we run the water between. And it was really fun, and it was fun to connect with the 6th graders. And we were a team, and it was so fun just to see how, even though we were different ages, we were still good friends.
So one of my favorite parts about the leadership in web class is getting to like connect with the 6th graders, because like 6th grade is like such a transitional year. And I remember like being a 6th grader, and it's a hard year. And so it's really nice to be able to like support them. And also like I have a lot of really nice memories of like being in 6th grade and the web leaders. And so it's nice that they get to like have those memories too.
My favorite part about leadership is getting to make booths at lunchtime events or after school events, and hanging out with friends and getting to know 6th graders and kind of what they like most.
All right, so thank you for listening, and we hope this helped you learn a little bit more about our program at OIS.
All right.
About the program? I know you're very familiar with my own. Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about the Blue Star Moms and Pantry Kids? I don't know as much about those organizations specifically.
Okay, so at lunch we have events, and we partner with like local charities in the area, and they bring supplies like food and markers and cards, and all of the students at OIS come together at lunch, and we work on, like last month we were writing birthday cards and thank you cards, and the month before we assembled snack baskets for kids who can't afford their own snacks. So we put all of our favorite snacks, and we wrote a handwritten note to be given to the kids to make their day a little bit better.
Awesome.
I know Others First is like locally, and it's just part of something that was created like by one of our
like people who live around here, and it's nice to help support just local organizations like that.
The person who created it is actually in 8th grade right now with us.
Oh, that's great.
We're Pantry Kids. She created Pantry Kids. Personally, for me, I think it's a great way to feel like giving back to the community and others who are less fortunate. Like one of my favorite one that we did was we did one for Halloween where we brought all of our candy and we separated it into bags, and like we all separated them into different like, chocolate and stuff, whatever. But it was really fun being like together and all of us getting to like give back to the community, all of us together. It was really nice seeing all my peers and like the 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders all coming together for like doing something good for others. Knowing someone was gonna
Cool.
Thank you. I loved hearing how you also integrate, input from your friends at school as well. So it's not just the students that are part of leadership that really influence what's happening at the school. I think that's part of what makes it such a successful program as well. So I was curious if any of you are planning to do this when you go to high school next year. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great.
Your initiative is really awesome. What do you have planned for the rest of the year? Like, what are some activities or things you would like to see implemented in leadership, other events or activities?
I know right now we're doing a canned food drive where, well, it's not like a drive, but so we have candy grams. And so it's candy grams. So like we you bring one candy gram, you buy one candy gram.
Yeah.
And so then you make the candy grams for your friends and you get to deliver. I think right now you bring the cans in and then next week we're gonna be making. Yeah. So that's one of the things coming up, I know for.
And also for Valentine's Day on Wednesday, we're having a cookie bake-off. So students can bring in like their favorite type of cookie, and then like there's gonna be a set of judges and they can judge the cookie based on taste, the looks, and creativity.
Yeah, it's also something for all the students to get involved in and see like how much we can be creative with each other.
Yeah. I also know that later in this year, the leadership students go to the elementary schools to talk to the upcoming 5th graders about what OIS is like and making sure that they feel comfortable in the transition from elementary school to middle school.
You all are such amazing speakers. I just have to say, kudos to you for all of your bravery tonight. How will you end the year? Like, what's the big project for the year?
I think we might do a pep rally.
Yeah, I know we have a pep rally. I think we have an 8th grade dance for the 8th graders. I think that's coming up.
Some tropical events.
I know we have a super
Something tropical.
in honor of Mr. Eggers, I think. And then we have a lot more spirit days coming up for everyone. And I think the other stuff, we get to choose as a leadership class what we want to do. Like we'll talk about it more in class. I guess we see what we want to do and then.
Congratulations.
Can I just say one thing? I've known some of you all when you guys were in elementary school. So to see your maturity from that to now it's amazing. And I think you guys are going to be well prepared for high school. So.
Yeah. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's always a highlight to see our students in action. So thank you so much for bringing that to us today. Moving on to public comment. Comments are limited to not more than 3 minutes, and groups are asked to limit their comments to a total of 5 minutes. The board shall limit the total time of public comment to 20 minutes. To comply with the Brown Act, the board may listen to comments from the speakers, but can neither discuss nor take action on the issues presented. Do we have any public comment?
We do. We just want to, these are all.
All right, yeah, we'd like those. So I'll call on Penelope Gall first.
The president, have to leave, so is it okay if I go first?
If that is okay with Penelope, okay. Actually, are you, for FONA, we have a few from FONA, so could you represent everyone? Right now, because we have a 5, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go really quick.
Okay, great, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you for letting me do Members of the board, Steve Danziger, member of FONA. First of all, I want to thank the superintendent for allowing the Eagle Project and citizen science to continue at the nature area. And with that said, it's disappointing that our other activities in the garden area must be curtailed due to the condition of the greenhouse. It would be very easy for us to keep that area off limits while allowing other volunteers to work in the garden, as they have done with the Eagle Project and the citizen science. And the board and Reg Barrett in particular would be extremely vigilant to ensure that no breaches occur by the greenhouse. Though I understand the condition of the greenhouse. We are looking forward to the special meeting on February 21st to receive an update on the nature area. We're anxiously hoping for some positive news after two years of a closure. OUSD and our volunteers are caretakers of the special area, and it will need all of our efforts to restore it, hopefully in the near future. Sincerely hope that the students' pub will be able to enjoy the area again. I have heard every board member, except the newest member so far, support the reopening of the nature area. So I hope on that meeting coming up in the next 11 days that we hear positive news and you can do the right thing and do whatever it takes to get the area reopened. Thank you.
Thank you. Penelope?
Hi, I'm Penelope, and I just want to tell you guys a little bit about the Youth Citizen Science program that we have going. So me and about 9 other kids have been conducting experiments with soil in the nature area, and we're learning how to conduct chemical tests, and we're learning about the scientific method. And I personally plan on a career in somewhere in biology when I grow up. So this has been really beneficial to me as a high school student who can't really access internships that are limited to adults with degrees. So I just want to kind of stress the importance of keeping the nature area open so that this program and others that I'm involved in can continue, because I really enjoy them and I feel that they benefit the urban community.
Thank you. For the next 4, we have with the nature area, we ask that you come as a group, and we will have to limit your remarks to 5 minutes. So we have Kathy Barrett, William Hudson, Dan Phillips, and Josephine Salbororo. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name.
Jack Campini, a former FONA high school board member from 2016 to 18. He was planning to come tonight because originally the nature area was on the thing. Unfortunately, he can now. He's about to graduate at the University of the Pacific. And he says, quote, "The nature area holds a special place in my heart as one of the most impactful educational experiences I had growing up. Through elementary school field trips, I learned about the lives of Native Americans and the early settlers in a way no classroom could duplicate. Walking through the same environment these people once inhabited and engaging in hands-on activities brought history to life and deepened my understanding far beyond textbook or technology. It was a unique place where we could learn both science and social studies in a natural, immersive setting that tied the two subjects together seamlessly. The nature area also played a pivotal role in my personal development through Boy Scouts, serving as a location for my Eagle Scout project and for helping others complete theirs. This preserve is an invaluable resource, not only for its educational benefits, but for the unique way it connects students and community members to the natural world. Thank you very much for listening to Jack.
Thank you, Kathy. So you have 3 minutes and 25 seconds left.
Hi, my name is Josephine Samolbro, and I'm a parent. And I'm here on behalf of the parents community. I asked a number of our friends if they could provide some testimonials, and I actually got inundated by 5 of them. So we're just going to share this brief tonight. We'll bring the others on the 21st. This is from the Richtenberg family. We are grateful that our children, one a sophomore in college and the other junior at Miramani, were able to experience the outdoor education program at Wagner Ranch. Their experiences were precious and left everlasting memories. Aside from their outdoor education outings, they both had other amazing experiences within the nature area. One child was a summer camp counselor, and the other got to play his beloved saxophone during the Olive Festival that was hosted by the nature area. In conclusion, all of us Richtenbergs want every child in our beautiful La Orinda community to experience the Wagner Ranch nature area like our children did. The nature area is a jewel in our community and it needs to be shared in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you. We have William Hudson and Dan Phillips.
Hello. Seen me before. As I mentioned in the past, I went through the nature programs at Wagner Ranch. Then I grew up here, like Ranch from Pioneer days. And my general comment is the current students have been too long without these programs. Need to get it going to reopening the nature area and have them do this. Also, some comments about the courses would be the previous ones, which originally were developed by the school district, like Rancho Pioneer Days, Animal Camp, Native Studies, have these components in them. They did things to learn about the 6 different ecosystems, what type of plants are there, record them, learn about making soap that the ranchos did from fat from cattle that they used to make candles. Native Studies, they did versions of technology where they learned how to make arrowheads. They found obsidian that was in there. They made spear points, learned about baskets and the many uses of the acorn, which Native Americans used a lot of. There's also ties to Orinda and California history, which made the program very useful on the basis of many others. Currently, the Youth Citizen Science Project that Penelope spoke about is going on. It's ranged a little bit from 7 to 9 people, but they've been there every time working on applying the scientific method, learning about it for various plant factors in beds like soil type, nutrients added, and pH being used. Very important stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. And William Hudson.
Hi, I'm William Hudson. I'm really excited to hear what the plans for the nature are going to be in the 10 days. What we're looking for, I think the key thing is preserving the nature, preserving the nature area. So no development getting in the way of natural processes there. We'd like to see the curriculum preserve what's important to what is unique to the programs, which is out in nature. There's nothing like that that engages your senses, that no classroom can do that, give you experiences that are unexpected, that are natural, and make you appreciate different cultures and and having fun with the cooking. We've just seen the potential that this could be as a community asset. The Eagle Project, high school science volunteers are lining up. We'd love to see it. The community is interested in coming to the open houses. The students would love to come and bring their families to see it again, to connect the East Bay Regional Park System. The Historical Society would be interested, but have artists that are interested, field trips of other schools. This can be a tremendous community asset, and we hope that the plans include ways to share with the community the same way things like the classroom and the meeting rooms that the kids are sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to the next item in our agenda, 7A, Resolution 2513, recognizing and honoring Black History Month. I'll start. Whereas Black History Month is an annual celebration of the achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central and critical role in United States history. And
whereas each year during the month of February, the citizens of the United States devote the month to recognize celebrating the achievements of African Americans and their contributions to the success and prosperity of the United States. And
Whereas Black history has been celebrated in the United States since 1926, when Carter G. Woodson established a peak of celebration, and in 1960, the celebration evolved into a month of homage and tribute, Black History Month, thanks in part to the Civil Rights Movement. And
whereas in 1976, Black History Month was officially recognized by the federal government to honor and recognize the struggles and achievements of African Americans. And
whereas the California State Board of Education recognized in its multicultural education policy that each student needs an opportunity to understand the common humanity underlying all people. And
whereas the History Social Science Framework for California Public Schools, kindergarten through grade 12, states that the history curriculum of community, state, region, nation, and world must reflect the experiences of all genders and of all different racial, religious, and ethnic groups, which is integrated at every grade level. And
whereas corresponding school and classroom programs held during this month are implemented with the purpose of expanding knowledge about Black History Month and about the heritage and achievements of African Americans. And
therefore, be it resolved that the Orinda Union School District Board of Trustees do hereby adopt this resolution to honor February 2025 as Black History Month and recognize the tremendous societal contributions made by African Americans.
Thank you for reading that and appreciate it. And I know Sarah is leading some work with some committees around revising some curriculum and making sure that every classroom is actually honoring Black History Month all year long, but that we're specifically focused on this month. So
I know I, just with my site visits last week, loved going into the classrooms and seeing the books around and seeing and I noted that to some of the teachers, and to also see and hear the children learning about, the scientists and architects and, and also as the first Black president here in Orinda Union School District. I really appreciate us bringing this together. So thank you, Aida. Thank you, Sarah, for what you're doing. I love to see that. And so we've come a long way since we first moved here, definitely in 2017. So really love seeing that throughout the classrooms at every grade level. Board, does have any comments from the other board members?
thank you for bringing this. And that we continue to recognize and do the work.
Any public comment?
there's no public comment.
Okay, great. This is on for action.
Hillary, I move that the board approve resolution 25-13, recognizing and honoring Black History Month.
You have a second?
Eve, I second.
Trustee Anufa,
I
Trustee Wiener, Trustee Phillips.
Aye.
Vice President Shogun.
Aye.
President Collins-Coleman.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 7B, CSBA Delegate Assembly Election. Aida?
Yeah, so this is our annual item for action during this time. The board is to vote on, you don't have to vote on any representatives, but you may select up to 3 individuals to serve as your representatives. It's actually across the county. It's actually to 2 representatives of your CSBA Delegate Assembly. Thank you. So, and you either know these individuals from your work prior to your work with them, or from reading their biographies. But it is a public discussion and a public vote. So
we each vote, or we as a
no, you as a board.
Names or none.
You decide, and we send it off.
Well, I think I would nominate for voting for Katie Foreman from Lafayette. It's, I don't usually see a district similar to ours represented in our district. So for starters, I would vote for Katie.
She had really good examples in her bio.
Well, actually, she was put forth by Meredith Mead, who had done this before. But we actually have had representation. We've had Lafayette and Moraga both had it. Yeah. So we had Richard Severy from Moraga, Meredith Mead. But I agree. I support Katie Foreman.
I would agree. Who for the second?
Do you have anyone for the second?
I don't actually. I don't really know any of these other individuals.
So we have to.
Can I say?
You don't, you can just go on.
We can
Yeah,
just
and we've
choose
done
one.
that before.
Okay. How does the board feel about just choosing?
Did anybody have a strong feeling about a second?
I did not personally.
No, did not either. Okay.
Okay.
Can we have any public comment?
There's no public comment for
All
this.
right. I have a motion.
This is Hillary. I move that we nominate Katie Foreman for the CSBA delegate assembly election.
This is Vanita, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. Item 8A, preliminary view of resolution 2514 regarding reductions in certificated positions. Brian?
Okay, great, thank you. So I just want to acknowledge and think about these next few conversations are difficult to consider. Affects people's lives, affects children's lives, and but part of our work together is to give you information, talk about, to digest. We're a month ahead of where we make any decision on this matter, so this is these next three items are up for discussion. So no action is set. So this first one, called the PKS, the term for a layoff for certificated personnel, is necessary due to a projected decrease in enrollment for the 25-26 school year. And in particular kinds of programs are PKS. And it should be noted that overall the district enrollment is increasing. However, that's focused at the early primary level. And over the last decade, OIS has seen a decrease of almost 100 students. And our primary grades, particularly TK in this next year, are growing substantially. But at this time, we're looking at particular kinds of service reductions in 4 particular areas. In OIS art, at a 1.0 full-time equivalent, that would be a full-time individual. OIS education of a 0.83 of a 5 out of 6 period individual. OIS science at a 0.67 and a world language, particular French at a one particular section of French for a 2.67 full-time equivalent reduction. Do you have questions or thoughts on this?
So just to be clear, at this particular time, this is a recommendation.
Consideration.
Consideration for these reductions, but if it comes to that we have the need for these positions.
Over the next several weeks,
Yes.
we'll be pressing into looking at our enrollment in middle school, what our master schedule looks like, what, in particular, a number of these areas are electives. How many kids are filled in those electives? What is the class size average? And really, there's been really good work lately on Superintendent Glimmy, the teachers, administration, and Sarah Landry, Acosta Landry have really looked at the course catalog, a master scheduling that's going to really help us equalize classrooms. So we don't have some that are higher, some that are low. And we'll see what that does to the overall enrollment, and maybe it will inform some of our decisions in a different way than what we have paper here to consider.
I can also sort of just ask, I think I know the answer to the question, but just want to clarify for those listening in, with the 4 areas that are called out in this particular one, as far as the offerings, students, each of these areas would still be offered to the students.
All of them would.
But there would be fewer classes of each in general available. Thank you.
Yeah, so not a reduction in programs.
Right. That's what
But,
Important distinction.
yes,
But there may be
just right sizing in a position.
program.
Correct. So we're still, we're not anticipating that students will take any less, will have any less offerings.
Yeah.
That's not the intent.
And is it changing around the schedule to potentially figure things out, or?
Can you say more?
Yeah, just with, I can't see that, but like thank you, 0.83 or the 0.67 or the
Yeah.
1, it's just changing. the
Right, so
schedule
right
around?
now we have certain classes, so for when we ran the schedule, potential schedule for next year, and even looking at current enrollment in some of those classes are really low, low enrolled. I mean, those classes are lower than our elementary school courses.
Really?
So far below the class size, allowed class size level. I just also want to clarify that we're not pushing for increase in class sizes. We're just looking to be at class size for the middle school. So, but to Brian's point, some of them, we have certain class sizes at 14 and some of them are at the class size of 26. So we just want to make sure that they're evened out and that they're actually full to the class sizes that are allowed outside, because otherwise it is really fiscally responsible to do that. It's a lot of money. And not that, again, if we were reducing programming, that would be one thing, but this is a reduction in the position. So it is, sometimes it's scheduling, master scheduling, sometimes it does affect actually a position. Some of these could be attrition due to retirement or reassignment. So it doesn't necessarily equate to a specific person, but it is a position. So last year when we went through this, we had, Brian had brought on resolution. We reduced, for example, some positions that didn't even have a person in there, right? But we still have to reduce a position.
Thank you.
My question was also about programming, but you already answered that. And we all know, that those of us who are on this board and in this room know how tight our budget is and that we have finite resources. So I think it's prudent to, if the enrollment's declining for the last 10 years, which at OAS it has been, that we've seen the trends, we've had a demographer, we've gone over that many times actually in here recently. Then we should be responsible about making sure that our classes are at the levels that, maintain that we can afford, frankly. So I certainly understand there's some rearranging, there's people behind what you have up there, and that is, certainly weighs on me as a board member, for sure. We're not facing reductions, which our neighboring districts seem to be right now this year. And so, that's positive. So I want to acknowledge that I do understand that we're talking about people, not point whatever. But as a board member, knowing our resources are very finite, I think it's responsible to reviewing this annually and making sure those classes are low, because we want them low, and we don't want them to get any bigger, but that they're not so low that we are losing our resources or spending our resources where we can't afford it.
I think to that point, I can just add to that a little bit. It's really hard to call out. And when we were writing the draft resolution and going back and just looking at it, it's really hard that it's OIS. It really does call out, and there's emotion and a person, behind it, and there are people behind it. It's really hard. The reason the elementary school, when you have 4 elementary schools, even if we were in declining enrollment, there is some movement between the credential areas, multiple subject, and between the 4 schools. You have 1 middle school and you have to have a certain credential in a certain area. It is just very it's just right there. So as opposed to if we had multiple middle schools or more high schools on top of that, there's some more allowable shifting around, and that's really hard to do when you only have 1 and it's in a decline of enrollment. So to avoid reduction in programming for our students, that's why it's prudent to do this, actually to review annually, because enrollment drives staffing. So we want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in a position where we are reducing actually what we're offering to students, which also then results in people as well, even though it is difficult no matter what.
I know OIS students are about to start registering for
today
classes for their electives. So will this limit how many kids can take art and how many kids can take French?
To the point of not.
I know the program is still there, but will there?
But I think that's part of what will determine what we see in March, what comes to us for act for decision.
We're gonna let them enroll, and then between now and the next meeting, we watch the numbers. And
That
so
really
look-
only impacts the two electives on here.
The other ones.
Yes, yeah, because every child takes science and
And PE, exactly.
And then
But
for
we have-
science, it doesn't matter what, that's not a specific grade for science.
Correct, because it's one credential for all three.
Okay.
Yes.
Those are written as proportional, such as the OIS. Physical education is 5 sections out of a 6-section day that we're looking to reduce.
Mhm.
OIS or science is 4 out of 6.
Okay.
World language French, it's 1 out of 6, 1 section out of a 6th grade day. So we'll see what that master schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, right, because we could be back in March with a.
So, sorry, 4 sections of science, what does that equal? I'm trying,
Meaning 4 sections where it,
Periods, yeah.
4 periods, right?
4
But,
periods.
okay,
Each period that's a section.
right, but if you break that down by, that would be like almost a whole class for one grade level? Is that, am I thinking of that in the right way or not?
Not.
Yeah, I think the distribution would affect that.
Okay.
They're not equal.
Okay.
You know, we don't have the same number of kids in each class.
Correct.
And, grade level.
So it depends by grade level,
But
right?
it might shift to, there may be,
It just feels like a lot for science.
Right, so it could be less by the time we come back in March. It just depends on the enrollment.
there may be, we may have a teacher teach a 7th and an 8th,
Right,
Correct.
okay.
but then just I'm a 7th grade science teacher.
This item is just for discussion today.
Yes, yeah.
Right, no, I understand, but it's good to ask these questions.
No, for sure. Any other comments or questions for Brian?
The next one, the next item,
Do you
B,
have any public?
somewhat is
Not on
related.
this one. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Some, item B is somewhat related to this.
Yes, please.
We have such proposed reductions, and we have staff who have a similar, identical seniority date. They're hired on the same date. No time stamp when they're hired. It's a date stamp. Think of it that way. What do we do for tie-breaking criteria? How do we decide which one is would possibly remain, another one might move? So this next item is a matter of determination of seniority among certificate employees with the same seniority date. So we're looking at considering the number of teaching and or specialist service credentials. So someone who has a multiple subject credential and a single subject. Perhaps they have a special education credential, a PE credential other than a PE authorization, or an art credential rather than art authorization. Gives you another point. And then the second area is an earned degree beyond the bachelor's. So they have a master's degree with a doctorate degree. They have 2 master's degrees. It helps us sort through that. And these, any employee affected, we're talking about a small group.
Any comments?
So just to clarify, this is essentially if you have 2 employees that start at the same time, this is then, that's how you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are times when a district can bring forward what's called a skip criteria, where we decide on a criteria skip by the seniority, and that we are not bringing that recommendation. We're just bringing in that somehow we need to break a tie, but we're not recommending any kind of a skipping based on some other merit criteria that we determined. But we have to break ties, and then lottery. And the lottery can be done after, but there has to be some other criteria involved.
My only question about this was, I assume this is our standard criteria in this case?
Yes, there could be some additional, but we're looking at these 2 at this time. Yeah.
There are, yes, provided by legal language. There's other options. Like if you're in a bilingual, in a district that has a lot of English learners or other factors, you can add those. And when we looked at potential criteria, these are the ones that really stood out for us. Yeah. Or they were applicable. Keeping it simple.
Years of service.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We could have had that.
Any other discussion? Do we have any public comment?
No, not on this item.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yes, Chris.
Item C is, we just covered certificated, and we call it a lack of work or lack of funds for when considering reduction or discontinuance of classified employees. And this is another challenging topic to consider. We're recommending a 0.4. We have a 0.4 behavior specialist position. And so we're looking at a layoff of that and then the job be rescoped into a more expansive role with different certification or qualifications for that position. As the needs in the last decade and a half have really changed within our district, as we're considering expanding our special education district program to encompass at least a primary and early grade special day class. We paused it for a year. We're looking to bring it back. With such a program, we really need comprehensive behavioral support for such a program. And so in consideration of eliminating the current 0.4 position and then rescoping the position in a new job description to higher level of certification in a behavior analyst job that would be able to then supervise any of our behavioral aides who might work in our intensive special education program. So that's what we're thinking about right now. Again, this is just discussion.
Any comments from members? Questions for Brian? Do you have any public comments? We have. Did you have a? Oh,
I was looking at my own notes for it. No, I think I understand from what was written in here. This makes sense. I know in speech, similarly, bringing something in-house worked well this year as a precedent in terms of having our own employee in our department. So like I said, that worked well. And this seems a similar type of putting something in-house that allows us to use that resource maybe more fully across the district. That's my only comment right now.
And again, this is our preliminary discussion to really press into what the current role of our 0.4 behavior, what's called a behavior specialist, and what that work is. And then this proposal to rescope the job and have a different kind of certification. They're definitely related, but they may be sort of a parallel track as we look into the analysis with the next slide.
Right, we have a public comment from Heather McCall.
Hi, my name is Heather McCall. I'm a licensed MFT, and I've quietly been behind the scenes here in the district helping students, staff, and parents in our community for 20 years as the district behavior specialist. So what is a behavior specialist? In simple terms, as I say to my students, my job is to help you make friends, handle big feelings, learn to focus in class, and have fun. But it's more complex than that. The role of behavior specialist has shifted over the past 20 years. When I started with my MFT license, I was writing the FBAs and behavior intervention plans and supporting the special day class that once existed, working with teachers and special ed staff. However, over the years, the need for behavior service grew, as did the need for mental health support of our higher need students with IEPs and 504s. Because of my license, experience, and flexibility, my role shifted to be class behavior consult and social emotional regulation groups. Being trained in evidence-based curriculum such as zones of regulation, social thinking, and peers, I have worked on emotional regulation, behavior management, social skills, and executive function. As an experienced licensed MFT with specialized supervision training, I also took on clinical supervision of our future therapists from St. Mary's, postgrads, and newly licensed therapists as is best practice. In the early months of virtual learning, my license was the only one in the district which allowed me to continue service via teletherapy and offer videos for parents to use at home. In recent years, the number of kids in needs has skyrocketed. I see students at all 5 schools in 2 days in a group setting to maximize the number of kids served. I supervise clinical hours for 5 interns. I'm a part of the behaviorist and school psych cohorts and the IEP team process writing goals. I serve 37 students with IEPs and 4 504 students currently. in addition to consulting with teachers, special ed staff, and parents. This position also allows, if needed, the ability to bridge the transition to middle school with one of my groups, a comfort for students and families knowing there is a familiar face and service. But this is about cost versus need. Counseling and guidance are a written required service on these IEPs. Wellness counselors are for our general school population. School sites are at max capacity. Psych interns lack the experience to run these high-intensity groups, although a great training ground. Outside providers charge $250 or more per hour and $800 or more per student for an 8-week group. If the position did not exist, the students would still need to be served, and it would be at least a 55% increase in cost. Having this position in-house is the most efficient way for the district. The need grows every day for behavior and mental health services. Behavior specialist is a different role from behavior analyst, although we do work together. Behavior analyst is about behavior management in the special day class setting and classroom setting. Behavior specialist is an all-encompassing title, behavior and emotional and social functioning, taught in a setting that allows for these skills to be honed in. Behavior specialist is the synthesis of the whole student, and keeping this position is cost-effective, community-based, and benefits our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other discussion items? No, for that.
Well, we have discussion items. I don't know, but are there any other questions about this item?
Yeah.
Or any of the A, B, or C?
Okay, no, not at this time. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item D.
Okay.
Aida.
Switching gears. Okay. So, it's LCAP season. Last school year, during 23-24 year, was the first year that the state mandated that the district bring in the LCAP mid-year report. And this is the second year that we're doing that. So just what the mid-year update is, it's our annual LCAP mid-year update. It's a requirement, and we must present it to you before February 28th of each year at a regular board meeting. So here we are. And we must present whatever the metrics that we have up until now, and whatever the current budget that we have up until now, the expenditures. And we can create our own template, but it has to have all the template requirements of the state. So we actually just use the state template. And that actually helps us with the regular LCAP. So the template was attached as well with all the requirements that we sent off to the county or will send off to the county. But just wanted to give you some highlights in here and then answer any other questions if you might have. So our first goal in the LCAP was, and we did revise this LCAP this year, because it's our first year of the 3-year LCAP. But our first goal was around student learning, and it's to enhance student learning outcomes by implementing differentiated evidence-based curriculum tailored to meet the diverse needs and abilities of all students, while supporting district-wide alignment in instructional practices to ensure educational equity across all grade and department levels. So a lot in that first goal. So just some mid-year highlights for you, that there are some very specific metrics in how we measure this, but we do have all of our students have access to standards aligned curriculum. They all have access to the instructional materials. And when we say all, that means really 100%. All students have access to a broad course of study. And that actually, what that means is that we don't limit which students can accelerate, which students go to whatever grade levels, meaning with regards to like math, acceleration, and so on. So we do offer a wide open array of classes, or to your point earlier around programming, electives, it's open and without the limits. And we reported already back in the fall on assessment data, when Sarah reported on the assessments, a very stable performance on our test scores, and some growth in several subgroups. And one of our areas in here was to actually provide a course catalog with clear understanding what our offerings are and what the students are supposed to be taking every single school year and what that looked like.
So that's our mid-year highlights. We are focused for the rest of the year and have been on curricular adoptions, led in curriculum by, very much on phonics and social studies this year, and clearly in the elementary schools. Big focus is on professional learning communities that are currently this year. The heavy focus is our second of 3-year cohort. Their big focus is on the tiers of intervention or MTSS model to really make sure that we're supporting all students learning at high levels. I think that's a sign to maybe get the temperature up a little bit, which is our ongoing area of focus in this room. We also ongoing support for implementation of phonics and social studies. Sarah keeps working with groups of teachers across the district on for phonics, social studies, how those new curricula are being adopted. After the course catalog was passed on, we committed to really developing each one of those courses of study. There was a lot of courses in there, so we're gonna get going on them, but it'll probably be a couple-year effort, and we'll start that off this summer. We are working currently with our middle school and our grading practices, and have met 3 times and have a March professional development day to actively work on a policy. Our second goal is around community of belonging. So fostering a nurturing educational environment that promotes wellness and social emotional well-being for all students, embedding equity and inclusivity at the core of our student programs. Some of our, those are some mandated metrics around absenteeism and attendance rates, and there was significant improvements actually in our chronic absenteeism rates this year, which was great. Our ongoing focus on attendance, we did see a little bit of improvement, and we do have high ADA in comparison to many other districts, but we would love to see us come up to those pre-COVID levels, 1% more. We have very low incidence of suspension and disruptive discipline, which is really great, and no expulsions. And then to the mental health support, we have continuous support for students in all schools throughout expanded counseling work. We have wellness counselors in every single elementary school. And then we have continued with the expansion of middle school counselors so we can provide that mental health support. We've highlighted extracurricular offerings here at the board meeting at the middle school. That continues to be one of the top highlights when our students fill out the surveys and in every focus group in the middle schools. There's an increased focus on that at the elementary schools of what's happening at the recess to provide that support and unstructured time. And then we committed to implementing steering committees, and we have implemented some new ones, and that's going to be an ongoing work every year. So ongoing key areas of focus. We keep working on the alignment of counseling programs around the elementary school sites. We do have somebody working with all of our counselors. We just submitted our capacity grant by the mandated deadline of January 31st. So hopefully get some funding for some of our counseling for the future, and working with OIS programming as well.
We don't really hear about the grant.
Well, we're in the cohort. So we've gotten some implementation funding already, right? And that's already in our budget. And I don't know, do you know the timeline? Hopefully by start of next year. We'll hear it.
Okay.
So we are part of cohort 4, I think, Mika, right? The state cohort 4 is our application. And my understanding is that the other cohorts have not received funding yet.
Oh, 1 through 3?
Yeah.
Interesting.
For many requirement.
Yeah. But the implementation funding we've already gotten it, so that we're rolling with it. All our applications are in, which was pretty significant. Mm-hmm. We do have to get an additional data software in how our counselors actually track data that's allowed by the state. Mm-hmm. And then we have to be Medi-Cal B. I don't know what that's called.
Medical.
Yeah. So
You need to implement a medical program. And do the random survey.
that's the next couple, that's the work over the next couple months. Yeah. Continues to work with the recess and lunch programming. We continue to work with our parent communications, parent events, parent committees. And I think the area of growth is definitely our work with English learner students, the parents of English learners in the future. It's ongoing. Goal 3 is around highly qualified staff, recruit, retain highly qualified staff, an environment where educators feel valued and supported to excel in their roles, contributing to the overall excellence and dedication to the students. We can't do any of the work in goal 1 and 2 if we don't have our staff. So it's a huge goal for us. We started off a year with being fully staffed in our certificated positions, which was one of our metrics. We actually saw more classified positions filled than a year prior, and fully staffed in our administrative positions as well. We were able to, many of our staff members attended Silicon Valley Math Initiative over the summer. We have a significant group of teacher leaders going through our CAPS network, which we hear about all the time. Facing history, we partnered with them. That was one of our goals. They came in over the October PD Day. We're also have on a classified side, our custodial staff engaged in one of their first professional development to align their best practices. BASC is probably one of our highest attendance. Well, it is the highest attendance of classified staff, even though it's optional. It's almost 100% attendance at every professional development day. So we have induction to support our new teachers. So there's a lot of ongoing professional development. There's a weekly collaboration with the folks on PLC. Not every week is PLC, but that is a big focus. And we do have 2 outstanding literacy TOSAs that provide intervention directly to our students, and they are part of professional development. Just ongoing work throughout the year is release days, collaboration, use of our experts, working on those implementation of the curricula that we spoke about. Brian works in HR with their department of 2, but feels like 20 because they do so much in recruitment efforts to ensure highly qualified staff. So the hiring season is upon us, February. So we do have some retirees, some resignations, some people leaving. So we do have some openings. So this is a big season. And then ongoing communication series that we started this year at our staff meetings and parents to keep the communication topics going. We had budget, institutional neutrality. We're in the midst of special ed communications. So I think this week is Glorieta Del Rey, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And last one is can do any of that if we don't have responsible management of resources. So that was that should say goal 4. I hate when that happens. The district will ensure long-term fiscal stability and effectively manage facility needs. So Stuart's been bringing us a deferred maintenance plans. We keep adding to them, but we have one and continues to be mainly unfunded, but we have one. First interim budget did show improvement since the adopted budget, which was our goal to continue improving. It does show us deficit spending, but as mentioned earlier, we are not sitting here and looking through program reduction. So we do actually feel good about that. Our certificated staff compensation is in the top third of the salary schedule. We'd like to remain there or higher. Our budget steering committee is meeting, and we have a next meeting next week. And then we had staff budget communication series. So we'd love to see how we can fund those deferred maintenance projects. Our facilities are improving and but tired. We did get a direction to do a facility master plan due to all sorts of changes in our needs. So we'll do that. Ongoing budget committee work and budget communications to the parents. There's a plan to do a little more of a communication, kind of like a parent forum now that once the budget starts getting planned for next school year. We did have a commitment to the nature area, and we'll have a special board meeting on that. That continues to be a challenge for us due to lack of funding and just an ongoingly increasing need there. That's the mid-year update. Questions?
Open up for discussion.
There's just a lot going on. So thank you for, all the work on all of these goals. No, I didn't have any specific questions. I just appreciate this update and having you put it in this format in terms of the highlights and what the continuing work is.
Yeah, that seems like this process just started, so appreciate the update, but it's helpful to see it here. It does, obviously there's a lot to do and keep working, and some good highlights too. But thanks for bringing it to us.
Of course.
I guess my one question would just be about the weekly collaboration, in terms of, we shifted the schedule to allow for that PLC time, and just, how's that going?
So you want to talk a little bit about what's happening on Wednesdays?
So the Wednesday early release allows teachers to meet for really 2 blocks of time. There's a PLT time where they're collaborating around data on their cycles of inquiry, looking at student data, strategizing on next steps, identifying areas of need for particular students. And then they also have their common planning time where they focus on upcoming units and planning things that the grade level needs to align on and wants to get planned out for the rest of the quarter or trimester, I should say. So I think we're making really great progress. We've got almost every school is engaged in cycles of inquiry, which is a really big feat. I mean, it's a lot of work to look at student data and to review it collectively and collaboratively, and then to plan for intervention or extension based on student needs. And so the work in our second year, we've already made great progress. The PD we're going to at CAPS aligns with that work, really lockstep. And so I think all the pieces are really coming together. And with the PD we attend at CAPS in alignment with the leadership of our principals and then the guiding coalition leaders at each of the school sites, they really are making great progress in identifying students in areas of need and being able to extend and adjust practices, which is ultimately the goal of our PLC work, is to be sure we're doing everything we can to meet student needs.
Is there collaboration across school sites as well, or between school sites, I should say?
Not on the Wednesdays. That's really that grade level time for just that site grade level. And then we have curriculum council, which brings the designated leaders all together. And then we also can use our PD day time to bring folks together from across the grade level. And then also looking at summer as an opportunity to do some more of that in-depth work around ELA, social studies, and like really developing those course guides by content area and grade level.
Appreciate that question. That actually was one of mine as well. Related to that, that Wednesday time has been around for several years now, and I think each year it's evolved a little bit more. So maybe when I joined the board at the time, the principals were responsible for sort of setting that agenda for whatever was going to happen during that period of time. How's that working now? It's the curriculum leads taking that on. It is a fair amount of work just to plan what's going to happen in the time that you have, right? So how's that work?
So the principal will support and lead the guiding coalition of leaders who attend CAPS. And those are like your grade level facilitators, who are the leads at each grade level, in developing a calendar, let's say, for their cycles of inquiry. And the principal supports those logistics. And then the grade level leaders lead and facilitate that conversation for the grade level on the Wednesday meetings. Is that?
Yeah, that's helpful. I think it was a little more school by school. I checked in a while ago, frankly, but it was a little bit
more aligned with each school site.
Well, especially because they're going to CAPS and they're really coming out of that. Yeah, I mean, there's some differences here and there, but
yeah, I mean, schools are at different places, and even within grade level teams, folks are in different places. But the great thing is everybody is making strides and steps forward. And for example, at our last CAPS meeting, at the end of the CAPS PD that we attended, at the end of the day, every site team gets together and plans what they're going to do next as a result of that learning. So then they're going to take an upcoming Wednesday afternoon and the teacher leaders are going to lead that learning for the rest of the staff.
Any other discussion, questions? We have public comment. Charles Shannon.
Hi, Charles Shannon. Speaking as an individual, I'm one of the facilitators for first grade over at Glorietta School. And as Sarah was saying so eloquently, we went to the CAPS training recently, and we were learning about the supports that we provide our children so that all kids learn. And we talked about, we have that tier 1, which is, it used to be the bottom of the pyramid, now they have it up at the top because it's your biggest group of kids. We try to be preventive and make sure we're teaching using our standards-based, research-based curriculum and capturing as many kids as we can, making sure that as many kids get the materials as possible. And then there are those times that doesn't happen, and that's where my group over at Gloria is at, is what are we gonna do for the tier 2? So we've got some kids over here that didn't get something. What are we gonna do as a team supporting one another? So what we've come up with is similar to a model they have in Sacramento, which is called a WIN, where everyone gets what they need. And so we're gonna have teachers, we have sort of a little screener to the kids in a curricular area. We're doing math. Where are they at? Who gets it? And we're gonna have most kids getting it. And a few kids that don't get it. And we're gonna have a teacher then work with those kids. So we'll plan the curriculum. We'll have common formative assessments to do check-ins with them and see how they're moving along. And then we'll have kids that are getting it and then kids that are excelling. So we'll take on the different roles. Our kids will rotate. We're gonna start with just 1 day a week. We're testing that, seeing how that works out, tweak it a little bit. But it's been great to have that Wednesday time to work together for the planning, for understanding what the professional learning community time is as a staff, and the professional learning team time that we have as a grade level, with the facilitator gets the training. So we're telling them what we're learning, making sure they understand it so that we can take those steps and move forward. We're super excited. We're always asking for more time and trying to figure out how to carve out that extra time. But we see it as being very valuable. They're very focused conversations, and it's always on student learning and making sure that every student gets it. We leave no one behind. So it's very, very exciting. We really appreciate the leadership we're getting from Sarah and helping us guide this, and also our principals. That professional learning community time during staff meetings has been super valuable because we have people who really know it well. We have Jenny over at Glorietta who had this in Fremont, and she's our resident expert. So she gets up there and really helps out those of us that are still kind of not getting it. She'll clarify for us. So it's been wonderful. We so appreciate that time. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think to Charles's point actually is because one of the Wednesdays is staff meeting, which used to be actually after school.
Right.
And I think 6 of them a year. And then they're all, the other ones are PLC times, with just a little variation here and there. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we're hearing more of like, we just need more PLC time, don't take it away, as opposed to like, how else can we carve it out versus, very confirming, versus this is not working. When we first started down, it's like, what is this? Why are we doing this? Because we're sort of building it and we're going, but now that people are in the swing and actually understand what it's about, feels like this valuable, how do we get more?
Wonderful. Any other questions from the board?
Are you going over the monitoring report too, or no?
No, I just want to do the highlights, but if you have questions out of the report, let me know.
I was just curious why, like, on the report, some, like, let's say the standards-based curriculum budgeted was 88,000, but we've already spent 156. So how does that?
Yeah, so there are times
when that happens, what does that mean?
Right. So, and at the end of the year, when we look at it, we actually have to report when there's a material difference, which is 5%, 15% or more, I think.
I thought it's 10%.
Look,
split the difference. But if we, for example, last year because we write this in May, for next school year, and, we got an estimate that like social studies curriculum is going to cost, or phonics is going to cost 90,000, that's what we would actually estimate. And then you buy it and it comes in at 150. So then we're actually putting in real numbers in there. So that's why. But at the end of the year, when we reconcile fully, we then have to explain, why did I go over anything that's more? There's a material difference.
When you go under, it doesn't.
You actually have to explain, why did you not spend what you budgeted? It's a pretty tedious process.
Is that a percentage based, or is it?
Within 10% of what you budgeted. And they're much more strict about that now. So they kick back your LCAP if you don't explain every single item. So we try to be tighter on the budget. Actually, Mika and Pauline did such a great job around how we're budgeting, like how we're monitoring what we're spending, so that it's easier to keep track of it. But there are some things that you start implementing. You're just like, okay, we just can't implement all this. We're super excited in June, and you just can't do it all in first year. Or this is a 3-year LCAP. Sometimes you do it in the second year. So you just have to report, I didn't do anything in first year. It's a second year goal or action.
What happens if they come back? And
Nothing. They just are looking for an explanation. Okay. They mainly put you in an improvement program if you're not making your metrics. It's not necessarily that.
These metric, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And these metric numbers are specific just to our district.
Correct.
They're not.
So there's mandated metrics, like everybody has to do CASP. Everybody has to do chronic absenteeism. So there are some metrics that are mandatory, and those are included, and then others that we've selected. So like we selected an HR that we will have that we're starting off with 100% being staffed. That's our goal. We want to be 100% staffed and classified, certificated, and when we start the school year. Like that's not a state metric, but how do we measure that we're fully staffed? So there are some metrics that you can play around with based on your assessed needs, and some that are mandated. It's a mixture.
Any other questions?
It's not up for an action. Yeah.
Item E.
Yeah. So it's actually hard to believe, but we are this kicks off the process for next year, for next LCAP. So the budget and the calendar you actually already saw in December when Mika presented the first interim. So I won't review that. I just put it there as an informational item. But we do kick off the LCAP process right now. So as I mentioned, it is a 3-year plan. So we are, but with some annual metrics. It does include goals, action, services. You already saw those, and expenditures. So some of those. We are supposed to support positive student outcomes, continuous improvement, ongoing. It is, while it's a cumbersome, actually ongoingly, increasingly more cumbersome process, it is really actually a really good opportunity for us to assess our needs, gather input, and then share with the community why we run with certain programs and how we budget. Oftentimes we'll get questions, why did you determine to run with that program or budget? It really is through this process that it comes, why some things are prioritized and others are not. So LCAP is a mandate, it's a requirement. If the state or county does not approve your LCAP, you don't get funding. So there are 8 state priorities, over 20 required metrics. The LCAP and the budgets are brought to the board through 2 different meetings in June. One is a public hearing discussion, and the other one is an action item. So just an overview of the development process. We are going to be rolling out our 2nd year, so we don't anticipate major changes because we just went through a major revise. But usually there are some minor tweaks of things that, based on the input. There are some state mandated additions to the new template. If you really are a statistician or researcher, they don't actually make sense because there's so many action items in there. They actually want you to report out on every action item and prove that it worked. But you really can't do that when you have so many action items, because how do you demonstrate that this is the action item that worked and it's not this one?
So, but we'll play with it. So budget development's aligned with the goals, public hearing and all that in June. So we have gone, when we went through the strategic directions process back in 2022, we made sure that the LCAP is aligned to that process. So all of our goals and plans are aligned, and as are the site's single plans. And I think that's kind of it for that. This is a visual of how it all aligns, and your board priorities, LCAP, single plans. That's on annual basis, and they all align to our strategic directions. Here's the 8 state priorities that we have to include in the LCAP, and here's our timeline. So in February and March, we do the mid-year update. In March, we really start our community engagement. Last year, we went through many focus groups, a lot of community engagement. So this year, we usually, in these kind of off years, we do a survey out. And then if there is something that really stands out in a survey, then we do some focus groups as necessary. April and May is when we write the LCAP. And then in June, we come here and present LCAP and the budget. So input gathering will be from parent surveys, parent leadership organizations. We present usually the drafts to them. Make sure that we're doing it through TK5, 6, 8. We always have to engage our English learner parents, focus groups based on need. I will make sure we engage our alumni, Mirmani, focus student groups, and then all of our staff. And that will be it. Else? All right.
I was going to ask you about the focus groups. Those are from the steering committees or?
No, we actually arrange new focus groups.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, usually.
That's great.
So we tend to look through the survey first, and then if something really comes out like, wow, this keeps coming up, we should probably have like a group and to tease these things out. But if there's pretty standard questions, we may not in like a second year.
Yeah.
So
I do like how in previous years, you've taken it to, once you've received the LCAP survey results, how parents within all the different committees, coordinating council and what have you, are able to view them and then react to them. That's really helpful, and I hope
we can do that too.
continues.
We can do that. Sounds good.
Any other questions?
What about this? Is it possible to just be air?
Yes.
Stuart can go get some keys or back.
70 degrees is what it's reading.
No way.
So I'm working on it.
70 degrees.
Burning up and now it's getting.
Should I keep going?
Yes.
You want to go to your car and warm up. Got it.
Item F, governor's proposed.
Okay. So I'm going to keep rolling. All right. So this is our annual update. Sometimes we bring it in January, February, depends when our board meeting falls and depends on the budget's release time. The governor has to release their budget by January 10th, but it just depends when our board meetings are. So we just use this also kicks off our budgeting season, LCAP season and budgeting season, and it starts off with the governor's budget release. So we don't get into too many details around it, but we do want to just give you a big picture of what the governor has issued in January. So in the really big picture around California state budget and economy, looking at strong revenue growth and healthy budget reserves. And then there was a 2-year plan for the state has really resulted in a roughly balanced state budget, which is much better than what we were seeing here last year. We're sitting here with almost a historical deficit. So that's a better statewide picture, which, state improvement means our other organizations tend to get improved as well. So much improved from last year. TK12 budget reflects modest increases in ongoing resources. They are projecting for us to get some flexible one-time money, and then few new programs and obligations based on those monies. Budget, I'm laughing at the air, not this. Budget was released prior to Los Angeles fires. I mean, literally he released the budget as the fire was starting to rage on. So
that creates new uncertainty due to cost of the recovery programming. It also, the timeline of the recovery, and then all of the LA County and I think Ventura County were delayed in taxes, allowed the delay in taxes. While that is not the entire state of California, it's a really significant revenue source for state of California. So that plays a part in not knowing what the budget will be. So we were warned of significant changes in revenue estimates are possible in the May revision budget. So that's just sort of at the forefront of our mind. So there are a lot of happenings at the federal level, and that could impact the budget. At this time, there's just a lot of items happening, but not necessarily impact our funding. But that could be, so we're monitoring it and seeing how that works out. So what does that all mean on the TK-12 proposed budget? In a big picture, Governor proposes fully funding the statutory COLA. This COLA of 243 is currently estimated for next school year. I just want to clarify that this is 25-26 budget. 24-25 is already done. Proposed budget does not include new cuts or deferrals to TK-12 education. Then resources from the PSSA, which is the reserve, continue to be utilized due to the 2-year authorized withdrawal. So that's that 2-year plan. So they continue to withdraw the resources from there. Commitment to, Governor Newsom's very committed to his ongoing programs like expanded learning opportunities program, which we've talked about in here that we actually don't utilize that. So we're not necessarily super excited about that one, but because that just means redistribution of those funds to other districts. Universal TK, which continues, and it's heavily impacted our district. And then also universal meal programs is impacted, especially our parent clubs and ability to fundraise. Wanted to include the Proposition 98 chart and at what level this is in billions. So because that's how schools are funded, the level of Proposition 98, while there was a nice increase through 21-22, then there was a dip. That dip in 23-24 is what caused that major deficit for last year when we were talking about that. And then the increase for 24-25. But you can actually see that there's a slight decrease in 25-26. So while there's an ongoing commitment for increased funding, that's actually not a good thing. So there's already a little bit of a setup of a battle around Prop 98 at the state level because they're trying not to give out all the Prop 98 money that the schools are supposed to get and pay back with current money for old money owed, or save some money in anticipation to revenue not coming through due to the wildfires, which is not constitutional. So there's just a lot of battles already happening. So we're hopeful we can get it all and it will all work out. But that's just kind of on the horizon. Categorical funds, again, COLA to be funded, which is huge. Actually, how many years have we lived through when COLA is unfunded? Here's the COLA and it's unfunded, or one-time money used for ongoing COLA. So that is good news. COLA is also attributed to special education, child nutrition, mandated block grant, which is a good thing. Then again, universal meals program continues here. They have currently allocated a discretionary block grant, but we just don't know what that means actually for us because we haven't been given the dollar amount yet. So, and it's not on the dartboard. So we're figuring out what that looks like for us in the second interim. And then there is an addition of learning recovery block grant, which we have been receiving, and that's how we fund a lot of our intervention programming. So we're excited that we can do that. You have to provide some assessed needs and demonstrate that we have a need for it, which we feel that we can easily do.
Does that number fluctuate every year?
They give it to you over a 3-year span, and then we allocate how much we use every year. Yeah. Proposition 28, just a reminder, That was a voted in 1%, 1 billion allocation, and it's utilized here also for our arts and music as required. This is just shows a little bit on what current base grants are for in LCFF. Our fight is always around the base. We always want the base increased, especially in districts like ours. So 25, 26 base grant per ADA. You can see the differences between different age ranges. We separate TK out from K3 because there is a TK add-on specifically. So while really the base grant is the same, there's an add-on for those TKers. So did want to, there's an asterisk next to that add-on. If you really added that $6,000 to the base grant, it actually doesn't add up to 11,000. That's on purpose. They said really don't count on that yet, but you should have it. But don't put it in there. So we literally copied this out of the dartboard, and that was their messaging too. So it is there designated to support the next year's implementation of the legal requirement to go to 10-to-1 adult to student ratio. So that's what it's supposed to be.
But that's an ongoing cost. I mean, we're going to have ongoing costs because the 10-to-1 ratio is not going anywhere, but they're proposing.
Ongoing.
Or this is also ongoing. Okay, sorry.
If it happens,
If it
it's
happens,
ongoing.
it's ongoing.
Correct.
Okay.
Ideally.
Oh, yes. Yes.
We did add those last couple of lines. We don't get the supplemental grants per ADA, those last two rows, but just shows that some of the districts with those higher percentages of concentration grants and higher numbers of supplemental funds, how much more you get per student. So we often get questions of why is Orinda lowest funded? We don't understand it. What does that mean? So if you are not a K-12 district, if you don't have the high school, then you get a couple $1,000s less per student. So if you're a K-12 district, your high school kids bring more students. I will say high school kids cost a lot more. There's a lot more electives and all sorts of things that happen there. Understood. We're just saying that's why it's per student funding is lower in K-8s districts, but also why we always advocate for ADA funding or enrollment-based funding or increase the base versus when there are grants that come in that are based on the supplemental numbers, which is why we don't qualify for so many grants, is when they're based by supplemental. We just don't follow those. Okay, let's see. So implications on our budget. First interim was presented on December 16th. That LCFF revenue was based on 2.93 COLA. So it went down a little bit actually for next year. So even that slight increase resulted in decrease of $139,000 in ongoing funding, just that adjustment in COLA for next year. But with that said, we do get TK add-on money. So there's almost a wash a little bit, right?
If it happens.
If it happens. Sorry.
Asterisk for.
So at this point, we had this slide last year as well. We just wanted to make sure what that, just based on that COLA change, what that does for us. Once we actually, as we continue to get more information from the state, we'll continue adding it into our second interim. Is it a TK add-on? If that's part of the dartboard, we put that in there. If the block grant becomes part of the dartboard, we get it in there, learning grant. So as the money becomes more clear, we just continue to add it in there. So, so that's the implications for us. Let's see. And then the last thing, the second interim is being developed, kind of in final stages right now, final cleanup. But Mika's going to be presenting it here in just a little under the month. Less than a month. Then we continue to start putting in the new factors, as I just mentioned, as the dartboard gets cleaned up and we get more information from the state. The more information we have, the more accurate it is. And then we continue to clean up our operating budget
and adjusting our actuals. So every director here has gone through their own budgets, cleaned up their purchase orders, requisitions. We really try to keep our actuals tight with second interim and end of the year.
Great. Questions, the board?
Did I miss something?
Thank you. I appreciate you putting it together like this to make it understandable for us. It's a lot of noise that you hear, read, so it's nice to have it in this format.
It's kind of uneventful budget actually release.
So better than, yeah,
I mean,
if things come.
could be eventful and good or bad, but
Yes.
okay, we can live with this.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it to us. I think this is pretty much what we expected, since we did talk about it. Yeah, we talk about it pretty frequently, so yeah, hopefully the promised money comes through.
We're hoping for. Sounds good. Okay,
Any public comment?
there's no public comment.
Great. Moving on to item G, Integrated Pest Management Annual Report. Stuart.
Okay. So, obviously our annual report, what is IPM? Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, focuses on effective, low-risk pest management practices. IPM is a big picture approach to pest management that considers people and the environment when pest management decisions are made. There are currently a variety of IPM practices, including cleaning regularly, closing gaps into buildings, fixing leaky pipes, setting traps, and choosing low-risk pesticides. So there are government regulations that factor in to our decisions on how we implement our IPM. Senate Bill 1405 requires training and reporting to the Department of Pest Regulation. We have a new landscape worker, garden worker. So one of the first things we'll be doing, he started today, by the way. One of the first things we'll be doing is working with the Department of Pest Regulation to make sure that he's fully trained on what we're using, what we don't use, how to use it, application, all that. We also have an administrative regulation, 3514.2, using the least toxic means of controlling pest weeds, exploring alternative products. Healthy Schools Act, the California Department of Education prohibits pesticides, gives community the right to know certain pesticides are being used. So when we do have to apply herbicides and whatnot, we post 24 hours before, and we leave the posting up 72 hours after. That way, if it's applied, community knows that there was something put on the field or whatever to kill weeds, things like that. Department of Pest Regulation, schools are limited to the pesticides they use. Compliance is required by law. The big one there is any product that contains glyphosate. It's not anywhere near our schools, so it's a big no-no. Our plan is located on our website. There's a link to the IPM located under the facilities page. The maintenance and grounds crew provide preventive maintenance for control. We mitigate issues as they arise. Talked about posting requirements here, 25B exempt. These products like a vinegar base, weed rot, others are exempt from pesticide application regulations. However, we've tried several of them and found them to be ineffective and not real cost effective. So what we've been doing is obviously pulling weeds, the weed whacking, trimming, trying to be it's easier to maintain control. Don't let the weeds get out of control, kind of staying on them is the best practice that we found to use. What do we do when we're dealing with our IPA? Remove food. Obviously, we want to take the food away from, we don't want to give them shelter. We try to stay on top of leaks. We crack fill, seal cracks where they're coming in, install barriers, traps, manage irrigation. Honestly, most of our schools are right next to nature areas. Our biggest problems are rodents. Last year, we did a lot of repair on siding, putting barriers around a lot of the portables to try and mitigate it. We have less issues than we did last year, but still, they're still there. They're gone. Wagner Ranch, one of the big projects we'll be doing this summer is we have some gaps and soffits that are failing from gutters that have been leaking. That's on our schedule to get done. We're currently identifying other areas where we need to jump in and get going this summer. Any questions?
I didn't realize that you trapped squirrels.
Sorry?
Squirrels are on the list.
Ground squirrels.
The ground ones.
Yes.
So when you see
It's different. They're not fluffy.
yeah. The ground squirrels are more gophers, ground squirrels that are digging.
Oh, you're not the ones that are.
Not the ones.
No, not the.
Not the roadkill one.
No, it's
You know.
they can really, they go.
They can decimate it.
They can actually like
Yeah.
shift. Yeah, they shift your structures and.
They're cute, but they're nasty.
The remove food one is interesting, because of course I think about schools and kids leaving lots of food everywhere. So is it primarily like a janitorial thing about like how quickly can we like clean up after, various like lunches and things like that? Is that mostly, is it human food that becomes animal food when it's left behind, or
It's a combination of both, honestly. I mean, our nighttime custodians, it's a point that we drive home. It's reiterated every time we do our training that you make sure that those garbage cans out in the playground and everything are emptied and clean. We have our school gardens. They're planting food that are attracting wildlife. If you look at our schools, they're right next to nature areas. So it's a challenge. It's a real challenge to take care of.
HVAC systems have actually been part of a big.
You'll see that on an upcoming board meeting. Actually, we're working our HVAC systems, the control wires or the insulation are soy based insulation, so it attracts the
mandates.
They have to have ventilation around the units. Well, so now we're going to have to come back and retrofit, put screens around these openings to allow it, which is really affecting the design of it. It's not really from the design team. It's just we bought the equipment. That's the way when they built the equipment, they weren't factoring rodents getting in, honestly. So we're working with the design team to figure out how to mitigate this issue. And then you'll see us probably next month with a presentation on that.
Maybe next time some pictures.
No, I am.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stuart. Any public comment?
No. And that's an annual mandate for us to present this.
Yeah. I scrolled through quickly trying to find the pictures.
So next, we promise photos at the next meeting.
We all show.
In the board.
Okay. Item H, OPEB guidelines and investment report. Okay.
This is a quarterly report for the account for other post-employment benefits that we have with separate fund, and that was open 2015. At that time, we had about 1 million, and we gained 750,000. Since then, the current balance is 1.7 million. Since the insertion, the net return is 5.55%. Net OPEB liability as of at the end of last school year is 20 million. Recommended amount to contribute is 2 million. This quarter, the account balance decreased by about 64,000, but since July, overall, it increased by 72,000.
Any questions?
Thanks for continuing to bring it.
Thank you. Any public comment?
There's no public comment.
And our last discussion item I, legal services quarterly update. Mika.
So again, this is quarterly report as of December 31st. Compared to last year, we are about the similar level. Last year, first quarter was 44. This year was about 43,000. Second quarter, 32. This quarter was 46. So it might end up being a little more than last year, but it doesn't seem like it's out of. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mika. Any questions?
No, thanks.
Any public comment?
There's no,
Great. Moving on to 9A, Measure E&I implementation. All right, Stuart.
Well, it's our time for the report. We've got a lot of our projects in the closeout phase and new ones coming on. So Vincent Som with Swearingen is up here to give us the lowdown.
we're trying.
Almost there, Vincent.
If we're all looking at it, Winston like boiling water. There it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Next quarterly update, these are mostly completed projects. For
You're right.
E&I, going on to the next item for the modernization. Notice to proceed has been issued. We are in the final stages of getting all the last items for their contract amendment for them to actually proceed with the work and billing. So the next board meeting, we should have an item on the agenda for that. The next item is the 30s wing.
Am I moving or no? I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Next item is the 30s wing renovation, which we are folding into the modernization. So the contractor for modernization, Rodan, has indicated they have the capacity to perform that work as well. So it's a large cost saving measure as well, because that will allow us to manage that project alongside all the modernization work without having to create another project for that. So we can absorb that into our proposal already. So you won't see any additional asks from us. And then the district-wide road connection, which Stuart alluded to earlier, is currently in design. We're working with the design team, HKIT, to come up with a plan to road-improve the new mechanical systems on all of the campuses. So hopefully we'll have something to present on the next meeting as well. Again, a overview of the master program schedule. Nothing's changed here as work hasn't yet started, and we are hoping that none of this will change at all, and all of the work will complete exactly on time.
So the 30s modernization that then is now included for the summer, is that what?
So we have yet to determine how that's going to affect the students or the classes that are occurring in the 30s wing. We might be able to do some of the work during the school year, maybe not all, but what we're trying to do is to get it completed sooner rather than later. So if we can find a way to do it during the school year, we will. But if any work in there becomes too disruptive, we'll obviously shift it to the summer where they have capacity.
Thank you.
And the budget overview, which this hasn't changed yet as we haven't issued the PO for Rodan and the modernization project. We have just now settled on the numbers and the split between all the campuses, and we've been working with Mika to get those numbers to line up. And now that we have an approved schedule of values for the project, we just need to get that split up into the campuses. And then those funds, once those are covered, you'll see this change quite drastically. Nothing to be too shocked about it. We'll just simply move it in the encumbered column. And same with Measure I. So we did split out the items for, as previously set forth, the installation and then the remainder of the modernization work. And then this is the total budget. We've updated the total funding to indicate all the interest accrued up to the end of last year. So we did accrue some interest, and then some of the projects have closed out. Some of the encumbered funds have been put back as some of the POs are closed. So we used to be at 2.3 million for additional projects, and now that moves up to 2.8 million. So that 2.8 million will more than likely be the majority of it will be taken up by the 30s wing renovation. But again, we do not know what that actual cost is yet. So we're hoping that we'll have some more left over for some of the smaller projects throughout the district. No updates on the multipurpose room as we're just in closeout. The majority of these are, there's no update as we're just continuing to close them out. Administratively and with the state. Same with the student services building, just minor items. We're dealing with warranty issues there. As with mechanical, the big update here is in the modernization project. So as we are approaching the approval of the contract amendment, these numbers will also change where you'll see projected total expenditure. We'll get those to match the current contract value. So the contract value that was approved originally by the board was 34 million and some change. And now that we've settled on the numbers across all campuses, that will be updated shortly. So that's it for the updates here. Or anybody else have any questions on this?
No, thank you. I have a question. So there's roughly 2.8 left over there, mostly for the 30s wing. But when it comes to this rodent mitigation, what's the ballpark on that one? That doesn't seem optional, and also just disappointing, of course, that these new systems already need.
It's hard to ballpark the amounts without having the designs in hand. And once we have the contractors, we put the job out for bid, we have some contractors come and visit the site and take a look at the areas. They'll have a better idea as to the extent of the work as well. We're hopeful that it will be within the comfort limit. So we're hoping that it is within less than $75,000 for all campuses.
We've had much more issues up at Sleepy Hollow and Wagner Ranch than we have OIS, Glorietta, and Del Rey. So the concept was that we've been talking about is to get those as the kind of phase one, if you will, a separate package. Let's see how effective we are before we go and spend that money across the district.
And just to clarify, the reason, it's not necessarily the type of equipment, right? So I know that it has to do with soy, and I know it has to do that we couldn't use different materials due to environmental requirements of the state of California. So we're basically, to be environmentally compliant, we're like literally feeding rodents.
Basically, on
Right, okay. So, but I don't know if we could, kind of to your point, could we have predicted that or not? We're not, or.
Seen every school district should be having the same problem if they're.
If they recently put.
If they're putting in this HVAC now, like these kind of things and in these environments, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as back in my contracting days, we did a lot of similar equipment. We did a bunch of work with the Mount Alba School District, probably 10 campuses throughout my career. We didn't have any rodent issues.
Oh, interesting.
Basically the same design. They're not next to.
So it's our location as.
It really is. I really feel it is the location.
So what will hopefully come of this, thinking very, very long term, is with the modernization, things like all of the doors being changed and all of the hardware being changed, there will be a district standard now instead of, there's kind of a hodgepodge of equipment and items like door locks and handles that throughout the district, now those will become standardized. Same with the rodent protection measures. We're hoping that once we design these, it will become a district standard. So in the future, if any work is to be performed, the district will have a set of specifications, drawings, details, things like that for any work that you could put forth in all future bids and projects. So that way it will no longer be a problem. It will already be foreseen. So that will be some good that will come of this despite the unfortunate inconvenience of having to do it now.
And maybe we just hit it at the wrong time. I know a couple of years ago, there were cars that were getting eaten out by rats and such because they're soy-based, right? Or maybe they changed that. So sorry about that, Lisa. Right, so now there's different solutions, but I guess I'm not surprised. It seemed to be when that was being sampled out. And then I guess my other question, which maybe you don't have good answers for yet, is in terms of this summer and how those projects are coming along. Like, does everything seem like it's on track, or will we get an update about that, I guess, at the next quarterly one in terms of go time?
Everything is moving on as scheduled. We pushed the start of the administrative portion of the work to front load during the school year to make sure that we would be ready to go as soon as summer rolls around. So Any issues that we have are being addressed quite early. So in the more detailed schedule, the construction schedule, we have mock-ups. Some of the windows, one window at each site will be taken down and a mock-up window will be put up in place to test fit, any issues or anything that may come up during the school year. During the installation over the summer is being done during spring break. So that is the first big milestone that we will have. So right now, unfortunately, there's no major update. Everything is kind of being done behind the scenes. All the designs are being reviewed and approved. Materials are being ordered. Everything's just, the gears are turning. So not quite yet.
We've got weekly meetings with everybody, the design team, the contractor. Right now they're in the submittal process with the windows, the glazing, and there's very good communication as far as prioritizing. Hey, we really need these before we need this. So there's a lot of flexibility with the design team on prioritizing what submittals they're doing and how quickly they can get them back. Pretty accurate.
Oh, yeah.
What we talked about, yeah.
And we saw them during our visit to
We did,
Glorietta. We
at
saw
Glorietta,
a whole
yeah.
team evaluating doorknobs
they were
and
out
doors.
there. Yeah.
So.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I mean, did we ask if the elevator's working?
I was thinking that question.
Oh, yeah.
I know. And the students can use it?
Yeah,
Oh, with the right key?
it's a key so that
Look at that.
people that have the keys have
There's some,
how to basically just use the key as opposed to a call button.
right.
And that way we can keep it secure at night. There's signage letting people know if you need to use it, please call this number, they'll come in.
We will let council member Coxie know so she can take it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Right, moving on to item 9B, change order by Macmillan Data. Kevin.
So since two PCOs, the first one is regarding UPS sizes and locations. The district, as you know, underwent infrastructure upgrades over the past 2 summers. And the district's network infrastructure, specifically the power over Ethernet or PoE cables, which carry data and power, they need more robust backup power supplies, which are called UPS units, unlimited power supply units, to maintain data and power to critical systems like fire alarms, phones, and PA system in the event of an outage. So with the UPSs, if we have a power outage, those systems should be powered for up to an hour or longer. So with all the new security cameras and the new centralized network switches, that means we have a lot more devices supported by the UPS units than we did before. And certainly increased substantially since we initially planned the project. And so PCO 14 covers the cost of the larger UPS units to support the critical systems. So that's that one. The other one is just another no cost time extension. We're still in punch and getting very close to finishing up, but MDC respectfully requests a little bit more time to get through the project.
Any questions? Go ahead.
On the first one, you sort of mentioned that both prices have gone up, which I can believe, and then also we need more capacity. So is it both of those things? Like,
yeah, and some of it is inflation, and there was a restock fee that was incurred, and just timing. It is a chunk of change, but we're still within the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Thanks for explaining this so well too.
Yes.
Like what UPS means.
What? Yeah.
Any public comment? This item is up for action. Do you have a motion?
This is Katie. I move that we approve Macmillan Data Communications Change Order 05 in the amount of $66,573.85.
See my second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. On to item 10A, board policies.
Yes, so all the board policies are just updates based on new policy administrative regulations. So we recommend that they're acted on as in one motion, unless there's any specific questions based on any or any specific policies or regulations.
No? Any public comments?
There's no comment.
Okay, this item is up for action. Need a motion?
Hillary, I move that we approve the board policies 10B through G.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 11A, communications and announcements, OEA and CSEA.
Charles Shannon, President of Orinda Educational Association, and with me.
It's Lisa Rudolph, treasurer of OEA.
So I want to start off by saying that love is in the air, not just because it's Valentine's Day, because teachers want to say that parents, you rock our world with all of your donations and the volunteer time you put in our schools. We're able to do the amazing things that we do each and every day. You'll notice in our communications, we're putting in photos of things that like our specials and our assemblies and supply budgets, like all those things that your donations help us with. We're just so appreciative. And so it's not only Valentine's Day, but we just want to show our love for this community. We're noticing that donations are increasing little by little. And we're going to make it through the year. We know we're going to reach our goal. And we just want to say today, thank you. We really appreciate it. So Lisa is going to talk about school board breakfast. We're not serving breakfast.
Each year, El Pasto, which is the local service center of CTA, hosts a breakfast for school board members and the associations that serve them. And so this year, B. Adams Walker and I we're happy to have Etta and Benita with us at the school board breakfast, which occurs down at Doubletree in Pleasanton. And it was such a lovely morning, and I enjoy it every time I go. We're hoping each year that we can have more board members and more OEA members attend. And this year, the speakers were one of the CTA, Angela Norman, one of the CTA people, and she spoke about some wonderful programs going on in Alameda County that I would love to see in Contra Costa County to help credential teachers and aides more. So I'm hoping the Contra Costa board members that were there will try and bring some of those things in. And then the mayor of El Cerrito, who talked about her journey through schools and what she is doing in El Cerrito to help the schools. So it was a wonderful morning, and I was glad to have both trustees there. So thank you.
Thank you.
There's nobody here from CSEA.
Cabinet updates?
Okay. Right, am I? Yeah, no, okay. I can just quickly mention, thank you for that lovely message. We have one Orinda board meeting tomorrow and mayor's liaison tomorrow morning that we can make sure that gets spread, that we can quote you on that. Thank you to those, at least those two groups, first thing tomorrow. I'll just remind that we have facility visits on Thursday. So we will be looking at all 4 elementary schools just to look at all things facilities, TK, special ed classrooms, and how we're utilizing different rooms just in general due to the growth in enrollment, our portables and things like that. We'll send out the schedule maybe tomorrow on where to meet.
I think it's in there.
Oh, it is. Great. So I just need to look at it. And then
It's in there. I
didn't know that it was.
Oh, well, maybe in the notes.
So we'll make sure that everybody
It's
knows.
in the notes in the calendar.
And then TK survey will go out this week as well, by Wednesday to our new incoming parents, just to around the programming and the potential impact of various TK updates. As mentioned earlier, Sarah, Stephanie, and myself are ongoing communication series. So we're meeting with Glorietta and Del Rey at Glorietta on Wednesday to do the supporting all students, which is really focused on MTSS, moving really into special education conversation. So that's our second presentation. And then we're all excited for a 4-day weekend, a well-deserved break for all of our staff in February. So to celebrate President's Day. I'll just say that. Great, thank you. Unless there's, okay, we're good, all right.
Board reports, Benita.
Last Tuesday, I was able to attend Sleepy Hollow's first Problem of the Month gallery walk. So yeah, it was really special. They had in front of their classrooms posters from TK all the way to 5th grade. And then the whole school went out for about 20 minutes and walked around and looked at everyone's classrooms. And you could just see, the kinders looking at the the 3rd and 4th graders and being like, wow, and then, and I was toured by 2 4th graders who are part of the their student council members, Lana and Luca Morgan. So it was really special to be able to do that. And then right after that, I went to Glorieta for the site visit. Enjoyed that. So that's good. And then thank you, Lisa, for inviting us to that breakfast. It was just nice to talk and because you're my daughter's math teacher. So to be able to talk out beyond that was, I thought that was really special. So thank you.
I don't really have any updates right now. I was traveling. Sorry, I missed the breakfast. Maybe one of these years we'll be able to go. It'd be great if we get the date further in advance. Yes, that would be helpful. I said it. I mean, my trip was scheduled anyway, but looking forward to, I don't know, I've got a lot on the calendar. Do we have a board coffee this Thursday? I have that on my calendar.
You and me.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
I got I'm sure Carol will be very happy to know, I got my official lumber into school bus training.
We were excited for the first bus.
The meetings are generally quarterly, so I think there probably will be one before the end of the year. Still yet to be scheduled, but forward to reporting that. Once we get that.
We're excited to immediately send you some concerns.
Yes, I'm not going to mention that, but I have already looking through the concerns that exist. So and I am doing my now weekend tours of several of the facilities through our wonderful partnership with OYS basketball.
Let's see, since the last board meeting, I was at a coordinating council meeting, overviewed the budget. That was really helpful for everyone who was there. We have a budget meeting coming up next week. And then the rest of the stuff that everyone already said, the board coffee on Thursday before our walk around.
Yeah, and likewise, coordinating council last week with Katie, site visit with Benita, that was really exciting. And then the breakfast, that was the highlight of the week, followed by all the stormy site visits we'll have later this week. All right.
Hopefully we don't get blown out.
We're item 10. Consent calendar. We have items 12A through N. We have someone who could make a motion.
This is Hillary. I move that we approve the consent calendar.
This is Eve. I second it.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. All right, we have agenda items.
Yeah,
13.
so, yeah, I'll just, February 21st, we'll have a special board meeting. The only agenda item on there is the Wagner Ranch Nature Area update. I will say just for our guests in the audience, it is noon till 2. We have committed not to do those in the middle of the day, but for this one, since it's been scheduled, I hope that's okay. March 10th is a regular board meeting. Our major topic is second interim. We'll go through enrollment projections. At the last special board meeting, we've committed bringing back TK programming at that time as well. We have scheduled literacy update at that time and cell phone devices. It looks like a very lengthy agenda item, so we'll have to work on what gets moved. Probably literacy maybe, unless we need to deal with the screener. So we can work on these hopefully. Then April 14th, we are going to kick off our end of the year celebrations. So we'll start with our Teacher of the Year presentations, classified, bring back the safety plans, counseling, wellness presentations.
Oh, there's the literacy program. So I already moved that. There you go. So it's on there twice there. So, okay.
Right, great, thank you. That's it. Any items that the board would like to see on future meetings?
I think there was a discussion possibly about changing our meeting.
Oh, that's right. So bringing in possibly discussion on, should these meetings stay on Mondays? And we can bring that in
April.
April?
Yeah.
April? Does that sound okay? All right. Happy to do that. Thank you for that reminder.
Yes.
Okay, we've come to adjournment. So we have a motion.
Sure, this is Hillary. I move that we adjourn our meeting.
This is Eve, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.